Good morning and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to this very special show today on the 28th day of November. And do you know what day it is? Yes, it is the Australian National Day of Prayer. And this morning there was a big group of people who got together at Canberra in the Parliament House, and of course virtually joined by many community organisations throughout the nations, including here in Brisbane, where we met in Slacks Creek at the Kingston Community Centre, a gathering of all the multi-faith leaders coming together in that prayer. We'll see if we can try and get some of those footage for you by tomorrow to show you what actually happened. And I thought Peter gave an amazing and moving keynote address, and all of the other speakers and the faith leaders, the prayers that were said was just amazing. Well, right now, breaking news is Daniel Andrews again creates history.
Relief and joy.
Yes.
Not only did the ALP's campaign revolve around Daniel Andrews, the Liberals focused in on him too, hoping lockdown and vaccine mandate anger would flip votes and seats.
Leadership isn't about doing what's popular. Leadership is about doing what's right.
The ALP vote dipped in some strongholds, but it wasn't enough to lose seats. In fact, the Liberals even lost ground in its traditional heartland, Eastern Belt.
We've got a lot of work to do. We know that. But we also know that our time in the sun will come again. Thank you very much.
It's the second election loss for Matthew Guy, who's stepping down as leader.
I can't see us miraculously finding a leader that cuts through in 2026.
The Nationals had a more successful night, winning the regional seats of Shepparton, Mildura and Morwell from independents. The Teal movement failed to repeat its federal success. The Greens did eat into ALP territory, with a rising vote claiming Richmond.
We're on track to colour in the map of inner city Melbourne green.
But the winners can't celebrate.
So congratulations to the Greens there as well. And of course, Daniel Andrews, did very, very well. And his name will go down in history. As we know, in Melbourne, they have those statues. Him coming back will definitely secure a place for him there. As they said, it's all about, the love and not the power. So there we go. Once again, congratulations to Daniel Andrews. And of course, he says that community is what it's all about.
I can get the red books and start working through how we deliver all those steps we have to take to deliver that positive and optimistic plan, and we couldn't be more thrilled than to have been re-elected in such convincing terms. I just want to make this point. Our politics may well be divided, but our community is united. United in getting vaccinated, united in believing in science, united in helping each other and looking out for each other. You don't get to choose the challenges you face. That's what leadership's about. But in all those challenges, fire, flood and everything in between, you have to do what's right, not be fixed.
You have to do what is right and what is not popular. So, that's what his motto has been and his mantra for winning. And of course, he also says that Labor does what matters. And that's how he has come into the third term.
These last few years have been incredibly challenging. We've had to make some very difficult decisions, some very tough decisions, and Victorian families and businesses right across our state have had a very difficult time. That sense of kindness, that sense of connection, that sense that we are all in this together has been confirmed today as well. Friends, hope always defeats hate.
And I couldn't agree more, and he said that very rightfully. Well, right now, moving on from Victoria, let's go to New South Wales, where the Premier is announcing that the university-linked medical program.
This is an Australian-first program to be rolled out during COVID, and when new ideas work, we back them in and we expand them. And that's exactly what we're announcing today with this program. This is a program that started during COVID, around 400 students in their final year, providing support in our public health system and right across the board, and it has worked incredibly well. So we're expanding it to over 1,000 students and making it permanent. We know this works, and that's why we're looking at new ways of doing things. This comes off the bat of our urgent care clinics, our surgery support centres, and our recent pharmacy reform, which provides people the opportunity to see a pharmacist to get medication rather than have to wait to see their GP. This is all about looking at new ways of doing things, finding solutions. One thing we've learnt during the pandemic is to look at innovative solutions to deal with the problems of today, and that's exactly what this program does. This program will provide more hands-on deck so people across New South Wales get the best healthcare possible. I think if you look through the pandemic, New South Wales hasn't just had the strongest health response in the country, but arguably the world. And that's because we've invested record amounts, a $33 billion health budget here in our state. Coming into the pandemic, record investment in hospitals across New South Wales, record investment right across the board. And I know this program works, and I know it will make a real difference to people's lives across our great state.
And rightfully said that an investment into health is an investment in the right area, and health sector is one of the proud achievements of this country. I think many people come or aspire to come to Australia because of the medical facilities that are available right here in Australia. But right now, moving on, let's go to the other state where Mark McGowan announcing funding boosts for Banksia Hill.
After weeks of pressure over youth justice, the government's put forward its solution at an extra cost of $63 million.
Which is a very, very significant investment into youth justice, rehabilitation and trying to get young people back on track so that hopefully they don't come back into detention.
According to the government, the money's needed to return a difficult and violent group of detainees being held temporarily at maximum security Casuarina Prison. About half will be spent on security and other upgrades to accommodation, education and training areas for high-risk detainees. The rest will fund more staff and more mental health and support services.
We already have considerable mental health support in place in Banksia, but this will provide more, and it will also provide more support for the youth custodial officers who do a good job in difficult circumstances, and hopefully some incentive payments to get more people to work in that environment.
But some of WA's most eminent voices aren't convinced.
We do hope that this is an opportunity for the Premier and his government to wipe their hands of the issues around Banksia Hill.
We actually have the capability to be one of the best states in Australia for the developmental health of children, but we are now actually the worst. And this is because we're not taking into account the incredible strengths of Aboriginal people in this state.
Both were at a meeting with the Premier last week and aren't happy with how the talks have been portrayed.
We said we didn't want to have another inquiry, and virtually everyone in the room agreed with that.
Majority in the room said that no need for a royal commission, but we all spoke in depth in relation to the need for an inquiry.
It was a very disappointing summit. There was no way that we had said that this government was on track, or on the right track, and I think that has to be very clear.
The Premier says the government will consider ideas put forward at the meeting and report back by the end of the year. Kian Burke.
And there you go. And see, that is the kind of conversation that's always happening, and that's what was discussed today at the National Prayer Meeting. Well, here the Premier said that there will be no direct inquiry, but the referendum or the looking into that inquiry and moving forward. Now, there's always two sides of the coins. There's always a flip side. Now, we are talking about curbing the youth crime. So how do we combat that? But once you put them in detention, then there's all kinds of human rights and everything that kicks in, that we cannot be too harsh with them. So where do we draw the line? How do we make that balance? That's a big challenging act. So number one is that we are trying to make sure that the youth crime does not escalate in this country. And lately, I was at a police conference the other day, and there was a report of many petty and offences that are coming on the surface, things that we could actually really do without, and those kind of things are coming out. So, but when those perpetrators are contacted, what do we do? Do we nurture them? Do we discipline them the good old-fashioned way? Or these days with the political correctness and everything, there's so much that we can't say or do. So it's sometimes a hard act to follow. But right now, going on to Northern Territory, where there are going to be new laws trying to protect workers, but This time they're talking about sex workers.
It hasn't quite happened overnight, but in the past 3 years, the Territory's moved to the forefront of reforms, making sex work safer for workers.
This is so significant. This is a world first. For Northern Territory was the 3rd jurisdiction in the world to decriminalise sex work, and now it's the first place in the world to have explicit attribute that protects discrimination against sex workers.
Those of the opinion say aye, to the contrary no. Aye. I think the ayes have it.
This week's changes, modernising the NT's Anti-Discrimination Act, makes sex work a protected attribute, just like sex, race, disability and other categories. Advocates say it gives them avenues for redress and closes gaps and loopholes that have left sex workers vulnerable.
That can be, being denied a housing application or a home loan, despite the fact of being able to show steady, reliable income, just because of the fact that the person is a sex worker.
After decades of advocacy, the Territory became just the 2nd Australian jurisdiction to decriminalise sex work in 2019, setting an example for other states.
We saw Victoria follow suit and to commence the decriminalisation process on the 10th of May this year, and also Queensland undertaking a review of decriminalisation as well.
They hope now the NT's example will be followed again. Oliver Chaseling, ABC News.
And of course, I know there will be difference of opinions on that action that's been taken because, people look at the morality and what's happening to the society, what will happen to, the youngsters coming in. And so there's both sides of the coin, but the argument put forward is that if you are able to prove that you get a steady flow of income, why should you be denied a rental property or why should you be denied a home loan? Well, food for thought. Well, right now, let's go to Adelaide, where the 500 Supercars series returns, and that's a good news. Full throttle ahead.
Strapping in for a busy few days. Revheads are gearing up for the return of the Adelaide 500.
With the finale of the Supercars Championship next weekend is super exciting. And as everyone's mentioned today, Adelaide is coming back to life. It really does feel like there's an amazing buzz and atmosphere back in the city.
The Premier is determined for the 4-day event to be a success after it was parked by the former state government. But he remains tight-lipped on how ticket sales are travelling.
If we get 250,000 people into our city for this motorsport festival, then, we are back.
The newly resurfaced Parkland circuit has been put through its paces, with the Adelaide Rally hitting the finish line. Spectators gathered as old and new vehicles were showcased in the Adelaide Hills and a finale held in the city streets.
The biggest event of its type in the world, but something that can grow to many, many times that amount.
$2 million has been put on the table to keep the rally up and running, a win for car enthusiasts. But with the rally over, the gear shifts to the high-octane supercars.
To have all the circuit resurfaced, the grandstands come across from the Melbourne Grand Prix. To put this event on, I can't underestimate how, as a driver and part of the motor racing event, we are so thankful that it's back on the calendar.
Commuters might be less thankful, with peak hour delays of 30 minutes expected around the inner eastern suburbs this week. Shari Hams, ABC News.
So there you are, of course the locals, they have to put up with that long queues, with so many people coming in, but the Adelaide 500 Grand Prix, that's a great win for the community after the government had celebrated, good on them bringing it back. It will be another matter to see whether it's financially viable or not, and how does the logistic work with all the locals and everything like that, as a lot of money has been put in, a lot of preparation has gone in. Well, ladies and gentlemen, right now it's time to go to our Daily India Report.
Welcome to the Daily India Report that brings you reports, interviews, features and more on India and the Indian diaspora. India has invited Egyptian President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi to be the chief guest at the Indian Republic Day Parade on 26 January 2023.
In a bid to increase its political and military ties with Cairo, India has extended an invitation to Egyptian President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi to be the chief guest at India's Republic Day parade on January 26, 2023. The invitation to el-Sisi, who has been the Egyptian president since 2014, is being seen as India's outreach to both Africa and the Arab world. Egypt, which is the Arab world's most populous country, is also the second largest economy in Africa. This year, both countries celebrated the 75th anniversary of diplomatic relations. The invite means India-Egypt ties will see special attention in the coming few months and years. Both the Indian External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar and Defence Minister Rajnath Singh visited the country earlier this year. During their visits, both the ministers met the Egyptian president, with Jaishankar handing out a personal message of Prime Minister Narendra Modi to him. The visit of Defence Minister Rajnath Singh to Cairo in September was seen as a significant gesture as both sides stepped up military engagements. During the visit, he held bilateral talks with his Egyptian counterpart, General Mohammad Zaki, and signed an MOU in the defence sector as both sides agreed to focus on joint training, defence co-production and maintenance of equipment. The country was also invited to the India-Africa Defence Dialogue and IOR Defence Ministers Conclave that took place on the sidelines of the 12th DEF Expo in Gandhinagar, Gujarat in October. The North African country is also among the 9 countries invited by India for the G20 summit that will be hosted in New Delhi in September 2023. This is the second time that the Modi government has invited a leader from an African nation for Republic Day.
Indian Air Force has moved a proposal worth over 1400 crores for acquiring Rudram's next generation anti-radiation missiles to search and destroy enemy radar locations.
In a big push to induct indigenously developed weapon systems, the Indian Air Force has moved a proposal worth over 1400 crores to the government for acquiring Rudram's next-generation anti-radiation missiles to search and destroy enemy radar locations. Defense officials said a proposal for acquisition of advanced missiles developed by the Defense Research and Development Organization is with the Defense Ministry, and a high-level meeting would soon be taking a call on it. The next-generation anti-radiation missiles have already been tested by the Indian Air Force from its Sukhoi 30 fighter aircraft fleet and can destroy enemy radar locations during conflicts. The destruction of radar systems can help the Indian Air Force to strike targets without detection. The NGA-RM can be fired from IAF fighters like the Sukhoi 30 and the Mirage 2000. It is accurate and has been developed with the capability to even track a radar system even if it is not operating. NGA-RM is India's first indigenously developed anti-radiation missile with a speed of Mach 2 or twice the speed of sound. The tactical air-to-surface anti-radiation missile is equipped with a passive homing head that tracks sources of radiation of a wide range of frequencies. It can lock into a target not only before launch but also after launch.
Fresh name-calling starts in the Rajasthan state political arena as Chief Minister Ashok Gehlot calls his former deputy Sachin Pilot a traitor.
Rajasthan Chief Minister and senior Congress leader Ashok Gehlot on November 24th stirred up a new row with his former deputy Sachin Pilot, calling him a traitor. Gehlot said Pilot cannot replace him as he had revolted against Congress in 2020 and tried to topple his government. The remark drew a sharp response from Pilot, who said that it was unbecoming of Gehlot to make such baseless allegations and that it was not the time of mudslinging. Gehlot's comment came as Pilot's camp is pushing Congress to make him the Chief Minister. The CM reiterated his stand that the Congress High Command cannot make Sachin Pilot the Chief Minister. Alleging that Pilot had conspired with the BJP to topple his government in 2020 and had distributed money in an attempt to buy MLAs, he said the Congress can replace him with any of its 102 MLAs in Rajasthan except Pilot if the top leadership feels that the prospects of the party would improve in next year's assembly polls. Pilot, who on November 24th walked alongside Congress leaders Rahul Gandhi and Priyanka Gandhi Vadra in the Bharat Jodo Yatra in Madhya Pradesh, hit back saying, "This is not a time for accusation. No one should be so much insecure. Under his leadership, Congress has lost battle twice. Nothing is permanent in politics and we should work together to defeat the BJP." The ICC stepped in to do some damage control, saying Gehlot's differences with Pilot would be resolved in a manner that strengthens the party. AICC General Secretary of Communications Jairam Ramesh asserted that the focus right now should be on ensuring the success of the Bharat Jodo Yatra.
The second ship of Project 15B stealth guided missile destroyer Mormugao was delivered to the Indian Navy on November 24th. The ship is 163 meters long and 17 meters wide and is fitted with major indigenous weapons.
The second ship of Project 15B stealth guided missile destroyer Mormugao, which was being built at Mazagon Dock Shipbuilders Limited, was delivered to the Indian Navy on November 24th. The contract for 4 ships of Project 15B was signed on January 28, 2011. This project is a follow-on of the Kolkata-class destroyers commissioned in the last decade, and the lead ship of the project, INS Vishakhapatnam, has already been commissioned into the Indian Navy on November 21, 2021. Designed by the Warship Design Bureau, the Indian Navy's in-house organization, and built by Mazagon Dock Shipbuilders Limited, the 4 ships of the project are christened after major cities from all 4 corners of the country, viz. Vishakhapatnam, Mormugao, Imphal and Surat. The keel of Mormugao was laid in June 2015 and the ship was launched on September 17, 2016. The design has largely maintained the hull form, propulsion machinery, a lot of platform equipment and major weapons and sensors as the Kolkata class to benefit from series production. The ship is 163 meters long and 17 meters wide, displaces 7,400 tons when fully loaded and has a maximum speed of 30 knots. Apart from myriad indigenous equipment in the float and move categories, the destroyer is also installed with major indigenous weapons. The overall indigenous content of the project is approximately 75%. The delivery of Mormugao is an affirmation of the impetus being given by the Government of India and the Indian Navy towards Atmanirbhar Bharat as part of the celebration of the Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav.
Bisleri International owner to sell the packaged drinking water company to Tata Group's FMCG arm Tata Consumer Products Limited.
3 decades after selling soft drink brands Thums Up and Limca to beverage giant Coca-Cola in 1993, 82-year-old Ramesh Chauhan has cracked another massive deal. The chairman of Bisleri International is set to sell India's largest packed drinking water company to Tata Group's FMCG arm Tata Consumer Products Limited for an estimated 6,000 to 7,000 crores. 82-year-old Chauhan, whose health has not been too good now, says he doesn't have a successor to take Bisleri to the next level of expansion. Chauhan said that the Tata Group will nurture and take care of it even better, although selling Bisleri was still a painful decision. I like the Tata culture of values and integrity and hence made up my mind despite the aggression shown by other interested buyers. Talks with the Tata Group have been going on for 2 years and Chauhan made up his mind after meeting Tata Sons chairman N. Chandrasekaran and Tata Consumer CEO Sunil D'Souza a few months ago. At present, Tata Consumer sells packaged mineral water under the Himalayan brand as well as Tata Copper Plus Water and Tata Gluco Plus. The acquisition of Bisleri can catapult Tata's FMCG arm to number 1 in the segment.
Equity benchmark Sensex takes a fall after achieving a new closing high on November 24th.
Indian equity benchmark started to trade on November 25th on a poor note after closing at a new record high in the previous session, even as investors were looking to end the week on a high, with other Asian stocks on track to post their 4th consecutive weekly gain. The BSE Sensex index fell 44.47 points to 62,247.95 in early trade after closing at a new record high of 62,272.68 on November 25th. The broader NSE Nifty 2 edged 0.09% lower to 18,467 a day after closing at an all-time high of 18,484.10. Asia Pacific stock markets were uneven, with Australia's benchmark posting a 0.35% gain, but confidence in other parts of the region being negatively impacted by a tech-driven sell-off in Hong Kong shares. While some stock markets in Asia were supported by predictions of a slower pace after US monetary tightening started as soon as next month, Hong Kong's Hang Seng plunged after record COVID-19 infections in China cast doubt on the future.
South Indian actor-director S.J. Surya is all ready to make his OTT acting debut with the Tamil web series Vadandi. The trailer of the Pushkar Gayatri directorial has been released on Prime Video.
The trailer of Prime Video's upcoming Tamil web series Vadandi has been unveiled. Produced by Vikram Vedha fame filmmaker duo Pushkar Gayatri, the show is a gripping investigative thriller featuring S.J. Surya, who makes his OTT debut. The show is set in Kanyakumari and follows the life of an Anglo-Indian family consisting of a single mother and a daughter. Laila plays the mother and newcomer Sanjana plays her daughter Viloni, who gets killed. The trailer sets the tone with an intense background score and cinematography reminiscent of Pushkar Gayatri's own web series Suzhal. Directed by Andrew Lewis, the show also stars Leila, Smruti Venkat and Nasser in key roles. Vadandi also marks the OTT debut of Leila, who recently returned to acting after a decade with the Tamil action thriller Sardar. Leila said she's been very picky about her role since her comeback. She said, "This is the show I first signed even before Sardar. I'm looking at different characters to play and not restricting myself to only mother roles. As much as I have no qualms about playing a mother, I'm more particular about what the character has to offer to the story." The show is about a murder case that gets exploited by the media for the sake of TRPs. Vadandi will stream from December 2nd on Prime Video. Apart from Tamil, it can also be watched in Telugu, Malayalam, Kannada and Hindi.
மிலோனிய கொண்டவன அவ எங்க கிடந்தாலும் சரி யாது மூலையில கிடந்தாலும் சரி கண்டுபிடிக்காம விட மாட்டேன்.
That's all for this bulletin of the Daily India Report.
And thank you very much, Ankita, for that Daily India Report. Ladies and gentlemen, right now it's time to go to our functions and events. There you are, ladies and gentlemen, up to date on Australian Indian Radio and the Chantech multimedia streaming. Well, it's been wonderful having your company and it's always so good to see you on this 28th day of November 2022. 30 degrees right now and mostly sunny in Brisbane. Enjoy the rest of the day and we'll be back with you tomorrow at 9 a.m. It's been wonderful having your company. Until tomorrow, it's goodbye.